Okay, namaste everyone.
Namaste.
Welcome to this Indology Academy session with Dr. Neel Kulkarni. Dr. Kulkarni, before we begin, I have a request. If you can start us off with a prayer, that would be wonderful.
So, nowadays there is a tradition in almost all yoga classes to start the class with Patanjali's prayer. So, I will sing that prayer, and I will also sing little bit of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Maybe first chapter, at least first 10 sutras. So it will last for 3-4 minutes, 3 minutes maybe.
Perfect. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvikhnam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Patanjalaye Namaha. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaityakena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Pranamami Patanjalim Pranamami Patanjalim. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Patanjalaye Namaha. Atha Shri Patanjalayoga Darshanam Samadhipadaha Atha Yoganuशासनम Yogaschittavrittinirodhah Tada drashtus Swarupe Vasthanam Vrittisarupyamitarathra Vrittayah Panchatayah Klishtaha Pramana Viparyaya Vikalpanitra Smrutayah Pratyakshanumana Gama Pramanani Viparyayo Mithya Jnanamatadrupa Pratishtham Shabda Jnananupati Vastushunyo Vikalpaha Abhava
pratyaya lambana vrittir nidra anubhuta vishaya sampramosha srudihi abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha tatra sthitau yatnobhyasah satu dirgha kala nairantarya satkara sevito drudha bhumihi om shantish shantish shantihi.
Thank you. Namaskaram, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have Dr. Neel Kulkarni with us as part of our yoga series. Indology Academy strives to bring you authors from India and the diaspora in hopes of kind of bridging the gaps that exist between the East and the West and what have you. So today we have Dr. Neel Kulkarni. He was born in a yogic family in a very pious environment. He's learned Sanskrit, chanting, philosophy, and other practices from a very young age. He intuitively studied yoga from an early age, and even though his career and whatnot has been in aerospace engineering in a world-famous university, he also kind of has worked in informational technology in different countries. While doing all of this, his yoga studies has continued throughout his life, right? It is in his genes, it's in his blood, it's in his lineage. He has formulated his unique yoga system, Adhiyoga, authentic yoga system. He will be talking to us about that today. And that was in 1998 when he was residing in the US. And he's also published that book. The title is Adhiyoga. He has received an honorary doctorate for the book. And this particular system integrates traditional yoga sciences with modern health sciences, psychology, art, music, and educational sciences. And I for sure know that he's very particularly interested in nutrition as well. So as we filter questions towards the end, please put your questions in the chat about anything of any of these topics that you would want to know about. Adiyogi, the book is available in Sanskrit, English, Italian, French, Spanish, Russian, Norwegian, German, and Marathi and Hindi. And of course, it is also available in English in audio format. So in 2017, while in California, he also published another big book called the Patanjali Code. And, you know, yoga practitioners, we know the Patanjali, that is not the easiest read. So, you know, he's kind of put in some modifications in order to better understand the more systematic and easier way to kind of read the code. And he's also provided essential additions, modifications, and even critical comments in the book. And this work was given the National Award, Dr. Radhakrishnan Award for Educational Excellence. And Patanjali Code is available in Sanskrit, English, Italian, and German. I want to kind of talk about his current practices. He has taught, Dr. Kulkarni has taught yoga for over 35 years in different countries, various settings, trained over 40,000 yoga students, over 1,000 certified yoga teachers. And he believes that this is the reason he was born to do this work, and he's probably going to die doing this work. So pranams to you, Dr. Kulkarni. We welcome you on Indology Academy. And take it away. Please talk to us about the inspiration for the books, and we'll just kind of keep it, you know, a regular flow. We'll do questions and answers at the end. And as questions come up, please put them in the chat so I can take them up. And then if you're still around, we'll ask you to unmute and ask towards the end. Take it away, sir. Thank you.
So let me tell you the story of the book. What happened is I was very interested in yoga in my childhood, and my father was a self-realized yogi. So he noticed that I am always running after yoga, and because we were financially down, he asked me to complete my studies properly so that I will be financially covered. So I listened to him and did my engineering, etc. Of course, my yoga study automatically continued. However, I had to wait for almost 25 to 30 years to realize my yoga work. So I worked in US for 24 years, and in 98 time frame there was a big recession, and my American boss told me to go into yoga as a profession. Before that I was teaching free, but then he asked me to go as a profession. And at that time frame, Yoga Alliance gave me honorary, the highest designation they had. And I started teaching yoga. Now, because of my engineering background, as well as I had studied many other subjects such as health, science, biology, nutrition, Sanskrit, etc., and philosophy, of course. So what I did was, I decided that I will study that, I will teach that subject in a particular systematic way. Now, only this thought came to my mind, but I now want to tell you something, because many people think that how in the Upanishad, those Rishi Munis got the knowledge, which is called Shruti, and that is the knowledge which is revealed to them. So I'm not trying to give you a mystical understanding. I'm just trying to tell you that I did a prayer to my deity on the day of the opening of my yoga school. That was in 98, I remember. And as soon as I finished that prayer, immediately some thoughts came to my mind in like a period of 10 minutes. And I wrote down those thoughts, and those formed my first 21 sutras. But anyway, those thoughts were how I should be teaching the yoga exercise. Because that time, the yoga was taught only as yoga exercise if you want to make income. Even now, if you want to make income, you should be teaching yoga exercise, bodily exercise. Otherwise, making income will be very difficult, which I needed that time in 98. So anyway, the how to do the yoga exercise, those thoughts came to me one after another, 21 of them. I wrote them down. And later what happened is I started teaching yoga in the American society. And as I started teaching, I observed certain things. For example, I want to give at least one example, that, for example, all the yoga classes, most of the popular yoga classes, what happens is that they do a Patanjali prayer, which I just sang, and then they start the yoga class. So I was quite surprised that they are doing that, because according to me, Patanjali has nothing to do with yoga exercise, zero, according to me. So they were doing the Patanjali prayer, and the Patanjali's entire system is based in meditation and nothing to do with yoga exercise at all. There is only one asana mentioned there for meditation or pranayam, which is definitely a sitting pose, because it is sthira and sukha, means you have to stay in that pose for a long time, like 3 hours without moving. So they are on one side, they are praying to the Patanjali. They are popular yoga classes by world famous teachers. And then immediately after the prayer, they start doing the yoga exercise. So it gave an understanding to the Western community that Patanjali is indicating those yoga exercises, which is totally wrong. Then I will give you one more example. I taught at many institutes, including the universities, United States, and many yoga studios. They have a Gautam Buddha statue in them. And that statue is very big. Like Gautam Buddha statue can be as big as like half of my size. And it looks extremely beautiful. The whole studio looks very beautiful. And they have this statue. And then next to that statue, they have a small Ganesh statue. And they also are putting the incense sticks, etc. Now, this is a total contradiction, because I'll tell you what happens. In Patanjali system, first thing is that in the Patanjali system, they have what is called Ishwara, which is in short, it is a it is something like God, not really God, but something like God. Now, in the Buddhistic system, there is no concept of God at all. In the Buddhistic system, there is no concept of God at all. Another thing is that in the Patanjali system, or even the Sankhya system, which is the basis of the Patanjali system, there is the main primal elements are Purusha and Prakriti. That is the soul and the material universe. So in the Buddhistic system, there is no soul at all. So there is no concept of soul and God, but they are keeping that statue there in that yoga studio, where they are doing the Patanjali prayer, and after that they are doing the exercises. So there is no logic of this entire thing, and it's going on for last maybe 30-40 years. Another thing is that Ganesha has nothing to do with Patanjali, which you have to understand. Then I can give some more example. I will give one very quickly so that you understand this point. They have one chart on their wall, and that chart looks very beautiful. It has got the bija mantras and chakras, etc. But in none of their classes they have anything to do with chakras. They will talk about chakras, but they are not teaching anything, or none of the students are working on any chakras or such, etc. So what I noticed is there are many things like that, and they have not addressed those, because I feel that what happened is that the yoga teachers who came to United States and became very popular, they had not studied any yoga at all. They only studied the yoga exercise, and they were teaching that exercise, which was very attractive, and people got attracted, and I had no problem with that. And but afterwards they got an understanding that what they are teaching is what Patanjali said. Not only that, there are some teachers I know specifically, they told the student that this is what is written in the Patanjali, and they even tried to connect the asana with the Patanjali. So this misunderstanding of the yoga was spread in the Western society, and it is quite strong, means it is very difficult to break that. But I'm not interested in breaking anything. I'm just trying to tell you that this happened. And then there are many other things, many other things like Ayurveda and Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, or Kapha, Pitta, Vata. All these words are used in the yoga studios, and all these things are used in a wrong way, or they are used but not used in practice. So what I did was, I came to know that I have to address this in a particular way. So what I decided was, I decided to create a system which will cover everything, like what people want and what Patanjali is saying and what even the Vedas are telling. So for that, a person needs to know Sanskrit language very well. And not only they should know, but they should study. So you will find that there are very few Sanskrit scholars in the world, and very few of them are in India. Most of them are in Germany. So those people who know Sanskrit language, they do not do any yoga exercise or yoga practice. They only know it theory. And those who do practice a lot, they don't know any Sanskrit. So this anomaly exists. And so what I did was, I created a system which is a totally systematic system, which means that it starts like Patanjali, that what is the purpose of this system and where it ends. And within that, every person, whatever goal they have, can fit into that system. So that system is called Authentic Yoga System. And the name authentic means that we have practiced that system before we are teaching. We have practiced it for at least 30 years before. So we are not talking something from the book. We have directly practiced it, and we can refer it to the book also. And my Adhiyoga book, it clearly gives citations from the Patanjali, from Upanishad, from Hatha Yoga Pradipika, etc. So one has to understand that the Adhiyoga system was created for this purpose. Now, of course, I had to teach the exercise classes to make my income. Now, I went on teaching this system for a long time, from 98 till 2014. And by that time, I got very good students, especially in United States universities. So these students, they had some background better than me in terms of literary, etc. So they told me that I should now pen my system. I should write it down. And I knew that if I write my system in English, it definitely will be copied in America, and it will be called their system. So this always happens. So because I worked in the patent office for 2 years. So what I did was, I wrote my whole system in Sanskrit language. And at the same time, I wrote it in sutra form. So when I wrote it in sutra form, there was a big commotion, especially with those yoga teachers who were teaching yoga exercises, that I'm violating Patanjali, because Patanjali is the only one who has written sutra. So I wrote this in sutra form. My system has 700 sutras. If you club them into clusters, it becomes 170 sutras, and it is in 18 chapters. So it covers the entire Patanjali plus my ideas in that system. And I penned it in 2014 in a short book. That book looks like this. It's a very small book. And that book was published in Pune city. And 2017 time frame, lot of students who studied my system and also did teacher training with me, they wanted me to explain that in detail. This book also explains it in short, but then I had to explain it in detail. And then I wrote a very big treatise, and it is a 408 pages book called Adhiyoga. And Adhiyoga is a name which my Sanskrit teacher gave. So my original work is in English sutras. Sanskrit sutras were done by my Sanskrit teacher. And then there is also a Sanskrit verse form like Bhagavad Gita done by another Sanskrit Pandit. And then my commentary is on English. And then now it is translated in 10 languages. So this is how the Adhiyoga book came. And I was previous to that teaching the PhD students, up to PhD master students in many universities. And they asked me to apply for PhD. So my book was sent to one institute in Delhi. Within a week, they offered me the honorary PhD. That's how the Adhiyoga book came about.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yes. Quick question, kind of setting the stage. And for people who just joined in, Dr. Kulkarni is joining us from Malaysia right now. He's kind enough to do this live with us. He travels a lot, of course, and we're grateful that he's making this time. Dr. Kulkarni, tell us about the current form of yoga. You talked about that. How do you kind of see yoga being helpful in these pandemic times? Kind of set the stage for us about this, please.
See, what happens is that this word yoga, the word yoga is used in many, many ways. Not only in the current society, but even in the classical method, the word yoga is used for various things. So one has to understand this aspect. So unless you understand that word yoga, what it means to you, you will not be able to relate it to what you want to do. So let me give you some example. For example, in Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 chapters. And each of the chapter has a name which ends in yoga. For example, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, etc. Now, in this, there is a particular meaning of yoga word. Whereas in Patanjali, the meaning is not same. It is exactly opposite. So I will explain to you what it means. See, in the Bhagavad Gita is a summary of Upanishad. And the Upanishad is a philosophical text of the Vedic literature. So Vedic literature, you can divide in many ways, but if you divide it in two different ways, one is the prayer part, where the mantras are sung like Om Yajna Yajna Mahanta Deva, etc. And then the other part is a philosophical, where they are sometimes even challenging what is written in the mantras. And they are in the philosophical text of the Upanishads, their entire commonality in all the Upanishad is to find out how to remove the sorrow from the human life. Whereas in the Vedic mantras, the entire focus is on how to get the happiness. So like Rudram, they are saying chame, 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 means that I want this, I want that, I want that. Or if you look at any prayer to any deity, we are always asking for something which will give us the happiness. In Upanishad, they have come to know that no amount of happiness will satisfy you. So there will be always some dissatisfaction. And that dissatisfaction removal is the main focus of the Upanishad or Indian philosophy. So you have to understand one thing, that removal of the sorrow is the main purpose of the yoga in the Indian system, not to get flexibility, happiness, beauty, etc. So this you have to understand. I'm not telling you should do that way, but I'm just telling you that the main purpose of yoga is to remove sorrow in your life. Now, in the Patanjali system, what he's saying in the Bhagavad Gita, what he's doing is he's providing different methods for removing that sorrow. And it is not a integrated text like many of the scholars have done. Even Shankaracharya has written one commentary to explain the whole Bhagavad Gita in non-dualistic way. That means Advaita Vedanta. Bhagavad Gita is not a text, Advaita Vedanta text at all. Bhagavad Gita is a mixture of many philosophies, but all the philosophies point to removal of the sorrow. Now, this method of removing the sorrow is called yoga. So, yoga is defined as path in Bhagavad Gita. So, path of knowledge means jnana yoga. Path of devotion means bhakti yoga. So, yoga word is only a denotion of a path in Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't mean what is going to happen. Like in some texts, like Advaita Vedanta, when you do the yoga, yoga is considered lower level practice in Advaita Vedanta. Yoga only makes your mind clean. After that, you have to realize the Brahman. In another system, you have to become one with the God. That is called union of an individual soul with universal soul. So this yoga, that join, this concept is not there in all the texts. In Bhagavad Gita, it only means path. It doesn't mean joining with the God. Now in Patanjali, it means exactly opposite. In Patanjali, it means disunion of Purush with soul with the Prakriti. That means you have to disunite Prakriti with soul. That means soul should be disconnected with the Prakriti. That is the meaning of yoga in Patanjali. Whereas you will find that in many current society, they say that you have to unite your body, mind, and spirit. You can never unite the body and mind and spirit because body and the mind, they are material things. And soul is non-material. You cannot unite it. It's impossible. Or some people even, they try to unite the male, female, energies, etc. That is not the meaning of yoga in Patanjali. It is a disunion. It is written there. Drashtu drushtayoho sanyogo heye hetu. Tad abhavat sanyoga abhave, etc. So it is disconnection. So you have to first know what yoga means to you in the current society, because current society is going by intellectual analysis. So you have to first know what yoga means to you, what it meant in the classical. Then you have to decide whether you want the classical or you want to have your own yoga. So for some people, there is hot yoga. Now, hot yoga simply means that you are doing a yoga exercise in a hot room. Now, why you are doing that in the hot room? Because you feel that if you do it in a hot room, it becomes easy to do some poses. When it becomes easy to do the poses, it does not give you any benefit in terms of meditation or realization or etc. So you have to understand what you are getting from that yoga system. So there are many yoga systems and some of them are very popular. And I will tell you that the unfortunate thing is, I'm not against any of those systems. Only thing I'm telling you is that the unfortunate part is that in today's world, anything which has got more money becomes more popular or becomes very powerful. That's how the Donald Duck became president. So the thing is that those people who have more students or more bigger school, or they are making more income, they are considered correct one, because that's how the Western society generally looks at that. What is the amount of following they have? But that is not exactly what it means in terms of the real core logic of that system. So anyway, in the current society, there are many types of yogas. And what I want them to understand is that they should first know what they want from that yoga, what does yoga mean to them, and what they're practicing. So that's why in Adhiyoga, what we do is we define the goal of the whole system of the human life is happiness. That means the person who wants the liberation or removal of sorrow is also looking for happiness. Why does he want to get rid of the sorrow? Because he thinks that when sorrow goes away, he will be happy or comfortable. So the goal of all the systems is to get comfortable or happiness, definitely. And then every person has certain interest, and that only gives them happiness. If somebody is interested in mathematics, you can't force music on that person. So what we are saying is that they should get a methodology to achieve whatever they want. And once they achieve what they want, only some of them, 1 in 10,000 or 1 in million, will like liberation. All others will be only talking about Advaita Vedanta, this or that. But you will find that only 1 in million is really practicing towards liberation. So only those people, they will be able to follow the Patanjali system. They can memorize it or talk about it a lot, get PhD, etc. But to follow the Patanjali system will be possible only if they want to liberate, because that's the purpose of the Patanjali system. So in Adhiyoga system, what we did is we ask what your purpose is, then we tell what practice is required for that purpose. And those who want to get the liberation, then there are chapters for that. So that is what I think the yoga should mean. But they should never tell a wrong meaning. They should not tell Patanjali is saying that you should go to movie. They should never do that. That is what is happening.
Right. No, thank you for clarifying. I mean, yes, understanding what yoga is and isn't is the first step. I know you wanted to take questions at 30 minutes and then some at the end. So we do have questions coming in.
Okay.
Gayatri has asked if isn't the whole purpose of yoga for Chitta Shuddhi?
No.
That question.
Chitta Shuddhi is the purpose of yoga in the Vedantic system. Because in Vedanta system, if you divide the Vedanta into two parts, suppose you, just for today's talk, we divide the Vedanta in two parts. One is the Advaita Vedanta, where you have to realize that you are not there at all. Neel Kulkarni is not giving this interview. There is no Neel Kulkarni, there is no Anjali Kanojia. The only thing which is present is Brahman. There is no computer and there is no wireless. So that is what Advaita Vedanta is saying. Now to realize that, before you can even go into that thought, you can talk a lot about it. You will find that almost all the Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta teacher, they are talking a lot, but you will find hardly one has realized there. So only people like Shankaracharya, who are extremely ascetic and who have no attraction for a material life, they only can go into that kind of thinking. They are called Vihanga Marga. That means they can directly fly. So now those people who are following Advaita Vedanta system, their primary requirement is, before you can go even understanding of the Advaita, you have to make your mind totally Shuddha. That means it should not be affected by any appearances. It should be a plain mind. So that is what is called Chitta Shuddhi. And they are saying that you can do yoga if you want. You don't have to do yoga, but you can do yoga, you can do japa or whatever you want to do. It should make your Chitta Shuddha. And then you try to meditate on a formless reality. That is the Advaita Vedanta. And all other branches of the Vedanta, they deal with the God and the soul. So they are saying that the God and the soul should meet each other in some form. Either they should become one, or they should live with each other forever, or they should live in the same city. So this concept is possible only if your mind is clean. But in Patanjali, yoga does not mean that at all. In yoga, they are saying, in Patanjali, they are saying that you got the sorrow because the soul and the material universe have become one. And because of that, you got the body and the mind. And the body and the mind should be removed. If you want to make it in a very bad language, you should kill them. That means there should be no body and the mind. And only the soul should remain. Now, there is a defect in this system of Patanjali, because it doesn't tell what happens to that soul afterwards. It only tells that you got rid of the sorrow, and after that what happens is not known. So you don't know what happened to all the realized souls, how many souls are realized, then what happens to the other souls, etc., etc. So therefore the Patanjali system is not a complete system. Whereas the Vedanta system, they are trying to complete the whole circle by saying that once you get that Dvaita Mukti or Advaita Mukti, you are done. After that, no practice should be done.
I see. Thank you. And Aditya has a bunch of questions. I'm going to take a couple of the first ones, Aditya, and then I'll let you ask the others. This is a question that pops up over and over again. I mean, I am asked this also. Can we talk about the intersection between Tantra and yoga as per your experience, please?
Okay. So first thing is, see, you have to understand what the word Tantra means. So in the same word called Tra is in mantra. So this word is sometimes wrongly translated as Tra means something which protects you. So mantra means a statement which if you repeat, it will protect you. That means mananat trayate iti mantra. That means by doing that repetition, it will protect you. That is not a correct meaning of the Tra. The Tra actually only means an apparatus or a means. So it says mantra means a thing which will make you focus your mind. So it is just an apparatus to focus your mind. So in the same way, tantra, tan means to stretch. So you are now stretching your capacity or mind, and a means to do that is called tantra. So in the original tantrism, they have some practices which are difficult, not easy practices. And those practices, first thing, they are difficult. And when you practice those things, you are supposed to go towards a spiritual goal. Now, only a small portion of that practice deals with sex. And it deals with sex in a negative way, not in a positive way. So Tantra is not telling that you should do a lot of sex to get the liberation. It is telling you that you should do sex in such a way that it is not an average sex. That means whatever all the average people get out of sex, that you should not get. So to give a very weird example, suppose I drink orange juice or eat ice cream. Definitely I'll be enjoying it. So what they're saying is that you should eat ice cream, but you should not feel that it is ice cream. And that's very difficult. That is like the pratyahar in the Patanjali, where you are taking your senses inside. So only those people who are able to do that thing, they should even think about going to that path. It's called Vama Marga, means very difficult and dangerous. Vama means left or dangerous. So you in the modern world, many people think that Tantrism means sex. That is not true. Tantrism involves all the mantras. Most of the mantras which are the prayers of the deities or the goddesses which Shankaracharya created, they are the Tantrism. So the puja which we do in the house every day, that comes under Tantrism. So Tantra means that you are only stretching your mind, and the purpose of that should be spiritual. It has nothing to do with sex.
Thank you. Relatedly, and I want to ask about Kriyas. How do Kriyas fit in with this Ashtanga yoga pathway? And then the rest of the questions I'll let Aditya ask, but I wanted to put this forth, please.
Okay. So the first thing is that Kriya means a action. That means that you are not only contemplating, you're doing something. That is what is called Kriya. Kru means to do and Kriya means an action. It's a noun. Now, what happens in Patanjali, there is one word called Kriya Yoga. So in the second chapter, first sutra is Tapaswadhya Yeshwara Pradidhanani Kriya Yoga. So according to me, that sutra should not be there at all, because Tapaswadhya Ishwar Pradidhanani is already included in the Niyamas. So there should be no repetition. So in my Patanjali code, that sutra is removed. So now what I'm trying to tell you is that in Patanjali, he is telling that Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhan is combination is called Kriya Yoga. And then he is saying is no. So what he is saying is that the purpose of this Kriya Yoga is to get. Could we put my WhatsApp off? Okay. So the purpose of this Kriya Yoga is to get focus of the mind and removal from the kleshas. Samadhi bhavanartha klesha tanu karnarthasya. That is the second 2.2 sutra. Now, In the Patanjali, this Kriya Yoga terminology is created. 1 minute, please. So in the Patanjali, this Kriya Yoga terminology is created to define these three things, and whatever purpose, we'll talk about this later on, that why according to me that it should not be there. So now there is another system of yoga, Yogananda Paramahansa, who wrote autobiography of Yogi. So he's in the lineage of this Mahavatar Babaji's statues are here. So in that system, there is a Kriya Yoga technique. So there, what he says is that if you follow this Kriya Yoga, then you will be able to get into whatever they want to get. So this Kriya Yoga word is used in different ways. So you have to know what that means. Now in Hatha Yoga, there is something called Kriya. And that Kriya only means an action to cleanse your system. So mainly it is cleansing only body system. Little bit of nervous system is cleaned. So the purpose of doing that is so that the Hatha Yoga practice can continue. The Hatha Yoga is totally misunderstood today, which I will tell later. The Hatha Yoga is totally misunderstood today. That means all the Hatha Yoga classes I know in the entire United States, not a single one is Hatha Yoga class. Not only in United States, in the entire world, all the Hatha Yoga classes are not Hatha Yoga classes.
That's because, I mean, things have kind of changed here and then projected out back.
They don't know what Hatha Yoga means. I will tell you that, and that's why I wrote recently one book called Hatha Yoga Sutras. Those are the first Hatha Yoga Sutras in the history. But what I want to tell you is that in the Hatha Yoga, they are doing these kriyas, which are called Shuddhi Kriya. Means you are doing some bodily practices such as vomiting or enema, etc.
Shat karmas.
Shat karmas. So that karma, Shat karma is Shat Kriya. There is also Dashat Kriya, which is done when somebody dies. There are 10 rites. So Kriya can mean right. So anyway, this word Kriya is used in different ways. So Kriya only means an action. So you have to know what Kriya means to you and what you are going to get from that system. It should not be used in general. See, this is what has happened today, that yoga has become spread, but there is International Yoga today, Yoga Day. But I will tell you, there is International Yoga Day, but all the International Yoga Day is dealing with the exercises.
Physical.
Yeah, and they have a protocol also, because when I was called 3 times to Yoga Day in different countries. So I told them that I cannot follow this protocol, because what you are telling me is how one should do the standing pose. I don't teach this way what you are doing, but what you are doing is fine. You can do it, but I'm not going to do that way. So they told me that, then what will you like to do? I said, I will do one prayer. So I did the prayer and I explained the prayer. But what I want to tell you is that what is happening is there are people like to give names, like there are some studios which says Moksha Yoga studio. You never get moksha in the studio. First thing you have to understand. Also, you cannot give anybody moksha in the studio. And moksha is a very extremely serious practice. It's not an ordinary practice. Only 1 in million gets moksha. So this is giving a ordinary or a beginner student or a common student, they are getting an understanding that at least at the back of their mind, they have this feeling that if they go on doing this, one day they are going to get the moksha. So they have to understand that this Kriya Yoga, what it means to them. And in Patanjali, it means Tapas, Svadhyaya and Ishwar Pranidhan. In the Hatha Yoga, it means Shuddhi Kriya. In the Yogananda system, it means Kriya Yoga. And people think that is what he said. No, that is not what he said. They are all totally different. And what happens is that people are nowadays busy in their office. Most of the people are busy in the economy and etc. So they don't want to study this. So they don't want me to tell them anything detailed. They say that, Neel, forget all this. We are doing exercise and that's the Kriya Yoga. And that's what is going to give you moksha. That's what our teacher told me. So fine, they can do whatever they like.
So Guruji, why don't we get into what Hatha Yoga is and isn't, and then do the Q&A at the end. Just let's get into it while it's on our minds.
Okay. So let me tell you, this Hatha Yoga word, currently what it is used for. in general. I'm not saying each and every studio is doing that, but 99% are doing this. What they are doing is almost all of the yoga studios today do yoga exercise. There is almost no studio who teaches only meditation. And there is absolutely no studio which does Kundalini rising. They will say that we will rise your Kundalini, we'll keep our hand on you, and this Mataji will do this, etc. But they are not doing like that, because after the Kundalini rises, certain things happen. They are written in the text that this should happen, but they are not happening. So they are not doing any Kundalini, they are not doing any moksha, etc. Now what I'm trying to tell you is that in the Hatha Yoga, what they have done is almost all the studios are doing exercise. And there are two most popular systems of doing exercise. Either you can do one exercise, then take a break. You do one exercise for some time, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, whatever. Then you take a break and do another exercise. So you can call this as static system. And the another system is you do one exercise, immediately go into the next pose, and immediately go into the next pose. So there is a sequence of poses, which is called vinyas. So these two methods are given a name. The first one is called vinyas or Ashtanga vinyas. It has nothing to do with 8 limbs of Patanjali, but the name is given. And the other one is called Hatha Yoga, because they are doing something with the body. So Hatha Yoga is distinguished from a sequence of poses. This is one way of distinguishing. Then there is another way of distinguishing where some people think that if you are doing bodily exercises, whether it is sequence or not sequence, they are all Hatha Yoga. And if you are doing only meditation, that is called Raja Yoga. So the bodily poses are called Hatha Yoga, but that is not exactly what Hatha Yoga means at all. Now I have to tell you that in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, as well as in some studio names like Sun and Moon Yoga, etc., there is a metaphor that Ha means sun and Tha means moon. And that metaphor is also in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is considered standard book on Hatha Yoga. Now, actually, Ha and Tha doesn't mean sun and moon. It is only a metaphor he has written. You can even call it Neel. Ni means sun and La means moon. So they have used it just for remembrance purpose. Now, real word is Hatha, is one word. And Hatha means force. By force, you have to do it. Now, some people think that they are forcing their body in different difficult poses. So that is the Hatha Yoga. They have to force the body and something will happen. Nothing will happen. The force is not of the body. The force is of only Kundalini. So the definition of Hatha Yoga is you have to force your Kundalini in the central channel called Sushumna. So generally it doesn't go there. It's very hard. Some people think that, day before yesterday, one girl has come to me. She was in Minneapolis. Now she is here. And she says that her Kundalini is going up. I said, no, it is not going up at all. Because if it goes up, you will have different experiences. And some display will be there of powers, which are not coming. So it is forcing of the Kundalini in the central channel. Now, this Kundalini is also misunderstood, because some people think that there is something round like Kundal, which is a circle, and then it wakes up and then it goes to the central channel. No, nothing wakes up. It is only a metaphor. There is no snake or nothing like that. Only thing is the energy is flowing in the whole body. So what the yogi does is he brings all that energy in one place, and that energy has to be forced through the middle channel. And when you force that energy in the middle channel, as soon as it enters the middle channel, that very same energy is called Kundalini. It's the name of the energy only. So now, when you want to force this energy in the Kundalini, in the central channel, your entire nervous system or the Nadi system has to be very smooth. That means there should be no obstructions. So this obstruction is removed by doing pranayam. That means the entire purpose of the pranayam in Hatha Yoga is to remove this obstruction in the energy flow. So when you remove the obstruction, you get a control of that energy, which is called pranayam, means control of the prana. Now you have to bring it in the central channel. So the entire Hatha Yoga practice deals with cleaning of the nadis using pranayam. So pranayam is the main practice of Hatha Yoga, not asanas at all. Asanas you can do or you don't have to even do it. You must do the pranayam and you must take that energy in the central channel. Then it becomes Kundalini. That's where the Hatha Yoga starts. Until the Kundalini is risen, the Hatha Yoga has not started. After that, it is very difficult because that Kundalini has steadily to go up. Until it goes up, the Hatha Yoga is not happening. When it goes to the top, your mind becomes without thought. It is called amanaska. And that is the end of the Kundalini. After that, there is no need of Kundalini. That means after it reaches the top, you do not get Samadhi state or you do not get self-realization. You are only in a limbo state. Actually, you are in a very dangerous state because you become thoughtless and you don't know what to do after that. Now, therefore, Hatha Yoga must be practiced only with an expert guru. So once you become the thoughtless, now what happens is that now you have to actually start the meditation. That means when the Hatha Yoga amanaska state comes, after that it becomes the Patanjali system. That means you have to focus on the sounds from the body. Now your meditation starts. And after the meditation starts, you start getting the same experiences which Patanjali gives in the Samadhi state. And then you must end in the Bhakti Yoga. If you do not end in the Bhakti Yoga, the Hatha Yoga is not complete. Otherwise, you will be left alone. That is why you will find Hatha Yoga was produced by a particular sect of yogis called Natha Yogis. And my father belonged to that. But my father was a Bhakti Yogi. But what I'm trying to tell you is that Natha sect, they created this. So you will find that all the Nathas, they always are devotional. And they are either devotion of Shiva or devotion of Dattatreya. So all the Natha, when you see any picture of Natha, you will always see Dattatreya there and doing the puja of the Dattatreya. So this is the Hatha Yoga pranayam. Now the pranayam in Patanjali is totally different. In Patanjali, you are not doing like this. You are not doing pranayam for that purpose. In Patanjali, directly from pranayam, you are going into the meditation. So it says that it defines the pranayam in 5 sutras only in the Patanjali. After those 5 sutras, he says, Dharana sucha manasa yogyata. That means that your mind becomes eligible to start meditation by doing pranayam. So if you are doing pranayam in the Patanjali system or in Raja Yoga, you must start meditation after that. And if you are doing in Hatha Yoga, you must do Kundalini rising. If you are not doing these two, you are neither doing Raja Yoga nor doing Hatha Yoga. So this thing is in the Sanskrit language and teachers have not told this to their students. So they are imagining that if they do this Ashtanga Vinyas series, first series, second series, fifth series is very, very difficult. It will make you totally tired or you can even get totally damaged. 50% of, I'm sure that they are damaged. Even the teachers, their knees are damaged. So they are not getting any Kundalini or anything like that. They are just imagining it. So that is why what I want to tell you is that you tell me one single example out of all these famous teachers who reached anywhere near Samadhi state. There is not a single one.
Thank you for clarifying that question for Aditya. One last question that I have before we open up the Q&A is, tell us a little bit about your lineage, Dr. Kulkarni. Your father. I'll let you talk.
See, first thing is that as far as I am concerned, I don't belong to my father's lineage because in my father's lineage, the guru has to find the student. Like my father has not looked for the teacher at all. My father went on doing his practice and there is a small booklet. It's freely available on my site, adhiyogananda.com. So my father did his yoga practice coming from the last birth. I have my father's biography of the last birth also handwritten. So his guru came to find him out. Now, in my case, my father has not become my guru. He has not accepted me as a student, as a disciple. But of course, my knowledge comes from him. But he has not accepted me formally as his disciple. So I'm in guru-less state. But whatever it is, my knowledge comes from his blessing. Now, in my father's lineage, that is a Natha sect for sure. Now, if you know what Natha sect means is, Natha sect started Hatha Yoga, and that was 1300 years or more after Patanjali. Because if you look at the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the first few verses, it tells Kevalam Raja Yogaya Hatha Vidyopadishyate. That means I am telling this Hatha Yoga only so that you can go into meditation. Then in the middle of the Hatha Yoga, it says that if you did not get into meditation, your Hatha Yoga is useless or worthless. Then in the third section, it says, if you already got into meditation and you are stable, do not do any Hatha Yoga. That Hatha Yoga book is saying that. Plus, it says in the beginning that I'm writing this Hatha Yoga because people find Raja Yoga very difficult. They are not able to meditate. So Hatha Yoga is not more difficult. It is more easy. And Raja Yoga is more difficult. So that's why you have to do the Hatha Yoga so that you become ready for the Raja Yoga. Now, what happens is that this Natha Sampradaya, this started around maybe around 1300 or 1500 AD. And then this Hatha Yoga was spread mainly by Goraksha. That's why he went up to Kathmandu. So the Kathmandu has a Goraksha's temple there. So Kathmandu means that Kashta means wood and Mandap means the temple. So it's a wooden temple. But what I want to tell you is that these Hatha Yoga spread all over the India and even outside India. And the people at that place, whatever practice they were doing, spiritual practice, they mixed the Hatha Yoga with that. And therefore, many branches of Hatha Yoga was produced. For example, one of the most famous saint in the world who wrote Jnaneshwari, that is the best commentary on Bhagavad Gita, is considered even better than Bhagavad Gita, that commentary called Jnaneshwari. It was like 1 hour from Pune city. Now, Jnaneshwar was a combination of Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and also the other yoga. So he's a combination of the entire thing. So you'll see that when he comments on anything, the whole thing is there. So this Natha Sampradaya became different. And in the beginning, all the Nathas, they are all celibate. They are only brahmacharis, and they never give that knowledge in public. So you will not find that Machindranath is giving a class to 500 people. Never. Only one person they select. So my father's lineage is, my father's teacher, he spent 20 or 12 years, he's waited to find my father. And then he found it, and in 1 second they became disciple and guru. But what I'm saying is that after that, what my father got from his guru, that he didn't give it to anyone else. Only my father got it. So whatever siddhis that yogi had, only my father had those siddhis. And siddhis, I have myself seen them. So what I want to tell you is that Natha Sampradaya, afterwards, some of those Natha Sampradaya, they were married. Like Eknath, he's married. And many, my father is married in this life. Last life, he was not married. But what I want to tell you is that this Hatha Yoga became different later. So you have to, that's why what I'm trying to tell people is, whenever they do something, whatever they do, even if they drink alcohol, I want them to understand what they are doing and what is the logic of what they are doing and where they are going. And they can easily check it. You know, like suppose they want to lose the weight and they go to a yoga class, they should really check whether the weight is losing or not. Because some people go to yoga class because it is close to them or the timing is suitable. Most of the people go because timing is suitable. But that yoga class may be giving opposite of what you want. A girl who wants to lose weight is going to a class which gains weight. And a person who wants to gain weight, they're going to a class which gives lose weight. Or somebody is going because the father is going or mother is going or a girlfriend is going. I want them to understand what they're doing and then do it. That is the principle of my system.
Thank you. With that, I want to open up. I know Aditya has lots of burning questions. And I just want to thank everyone who has joined in today. I see some of my favorite people on here. So, you know, namaskarams to them. Aditya, take it away.
Yes. So what I understand is many things mean many things to different people. So it's actually like open architecture, and we have to specify which context we are talking of and what meaning we mean by the word we are using, so that what we mean is understood by someone else. But
Correct.
I would like a more elaboration on the Nathapanthi lineage. And there is this Kanphata word which I have heard of from our Maharashtrian relatives. It is a very respected system in our Maharashtra. So could something be elaborated on that? And I have one thing to say. The river Bagmati must be the river which flows in Kathmandu, and it is associated, if Gorakshanath is associated with Kathmandu, then when you come downstream from the Bagmati river, you come to the border area of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where the Uttar Pradesh corner is Gorakhpur, division of Uttar Pradesh. So there must be something in that sacred geography too. So we may have to trace it up to the origin of the Bagmati river too. So has there been any study mapping of different systems of Tantra, Yoga, whatever we are talking of, with our sacred geography as well?
No,
Thank you.
what I will suggest you is that you see, my interest in the yoga is to understand the logic of the yoga, philosophy of yoga, and the practice of yoga, and actually do that practice. That is my focus. But anyway, what I want to tell you is, I do not know the entire geographical thing about the rivers, etc. But I know one lady in Mysore. She has written a book on Saraswati River. So anyway, you can just look at that book. It's on Saraswati River. Then, if you go into a one place called Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapit in Pune, they have an archaeology department. So they will be able to tell you some of this information. Then Kanphata, Kanphata, I can tell you from my understanding. Kanphata is a breaking of your phata means to break, and Kan means your ear lobe, not the ear inside. If you break the inside, you will not be able to hear. So only the ear lobe you are cutting, and it has nothing to do with spirituality or nervous system or anything like that. It is only a designation. It is like when you want to show that you are American, you have a passport, American passport. If you have Indian passport, you cannot be American. So that Kanphata means that they are belonging to that sect. That's all it means. And it has nothing to do with the yoga practice. You can break even if they don't break the ear, they will still be able to do what they're doing.
How do they give Diksha in
No,
that
the Diksha is,
Nathapanthi
Diksha,
lineage?
see, Nathpanthi lineage, first thing is that, as I told you, that the original Nathpantha, that form is almost impossible now. It is almost impossible. That original one where, there are only 9 Naths and they come one after another. And they are Ashtasiddhis, etc. Now, currently the Nath Sampradaya is spread into even the householders. And they may have 1 or 2 Siddhis, like they may have some Siddhis, or they are asked by their guru to help other people, etc. Or they can be a combination of all the systems. For example, Sai Baba of Shirdi. He's at the same time Nath, he's at the same time, he's extremely powerful, like he's able to guide people into the meditation and this and that based on different, or he can just solve the problems, day-to-day problems of people, or even he will help Muslim and Indians come together, etc. But what I want to tell you is that when they give the Diksha, first thing is that if it is a real core Nath Sampradaya, that Nath Guru, he will check whether that student is eligible for that Diksha. He's not going to give it to anyone. You can see, I lived with my father for 30 years. He never called me disciple. He knows that I'm very good yoga student. He also blessed me for yoga knowledge. And whatever he said, everything has come true so far. But I'm not his disciple, or I cannot claim that. That is why I never wrote or told anybody about my father. Only 2 years ago, my students forced me to write his bio. So I only wrote what is related to yoga only. What is the yoga message? I don't want to write all his mysteries, and I know them, I've seen them also, but I don't want to create a crowd using that. So what I want to tell you is that to get a guru like that, it is in the real Nath Sampradaya, the guru should find you. But otherwise, if you ask me as a friend suggestion, I will say that you do your sadhana, you will find your guru one day. You can't do sadhana.
One other point is from the time Islamic invasion started in Punjab till the birth of Guru Nanak Dev, we have had a period of several centuries. It is said the belief in the Natha Pantha Sampradaya is what saved Punjab in those centuries. This is its historical relevance also.
Oh,
So
that is that maybe Anuja, Anjali may know it better than me. That knowledge I don't have. I'm
We will
interested
leave that
in
aside for now.
Yeah, I want to know what Nanak said and how I can use it or not. That's what my interest is. I'm not interested in that historical. If they are doing something wrong, then I'm interested. Like if they are converted a Hindu into Muslim, then I will oppose it, murder him. But I'm not interested in historically how it went. But if you want to get that knowledge, I can give you references. If you message me, I can tell you exactly who knows that knowledge. I know some people.
There is a question about previous janmas. Gayatri, do you want to ask your question, please?
A very nice presentation, sir. It was really very enlightening. How does one know about previous janma? Because when you spoke about your father, you spoke with such clarity about his last janma, like how he was a Siddha Purusha. I mean, he was a Siddha Purusha in this janma also. Last janma he was not married, and this janma is married. So how can you say that with so much conviction? How does one know about last janma?
This is a very good question. Give you a very. This question is very good. Actually, what I want to tell you is that before I answer that question, I want to tell you that in the yoga field, there is something called trust. So in the Patanjali, there is one sutra. It says Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Itaresham. That is the real yoga student, the final level yoga student. Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Itaresham. I think it is around 1.20. But what I want to tell you is that Shraddha is generally translated as belief or a reasonable belief. There is a book, very famous book by some American author or British author and one Swamiji. And that book is, I don't remember the name of the book. It's a small book and it is a very popular book. In that he says that it's a reasonable trust. That means you should see whether you can trust it and then trust it and try it out. That's what he says, but that's not what it means. Shraddha means that you must believe it regardless. Like suppose in Natha Sampradaya, if the teacher tells you jump from Empire State Building, you should not even think, immediately you should jump. So what happened is that in my case, it was unfortunate that when I reached that level, my father was no more in body. So he never told me to jump. But if he told me, I would have jumped today. Definitely, I'm sure that as soon as he tells, I'm going to jump. But what I want to tell you is this trust in that whether the real liberation exists, whether the past life exists, and whether there is real vibhuti. You know, vibhuti, he has written a vibhuti path in which he has got 40, 50 of all these crazy things, like you can walk on the water, you can fly in the air, etc. So people talk about it, but whether it is real or it's fake. So what I want to tell you is this is possible to trust only if you get the experience yourself. That means you yourself should get an experience which proves that this thing exists. So if you look at my father's biography, which I wrote for yoga, it's a small book. It's only probably 30, 40 pages. And there are 30 photographs in that book. So if you look at my experience, it totally proves what is written there. Now, I want to tell you about my father's last life. See, what happens is my father, when he met his guru, that time my father may be around probably between 23 and 30. And when he met him, within a minute, he became his disciple. That whole story is in that book. But the guru told the people that he was monastic in the last life. And he wanted to become a householder because he had some attraction towards a householder life. That's why he's born again. But he has already finished so much sadhana that in this life, he will be liberated. So this is his last life. So my father is not born again. So what I want to tell you is that when he told that, see, my father's guru, when he says that, he's not talking, he's going to show it. So he took them to that grave where my father was buried, because he was monastic in the last life. So they dug that grave, and my father's handwritten biography was there in that grave. And that originally is with me, his handwritten. Now what happened is that I was never told that that biography is there in physically. So in 1988, when I was in New Zealand, my father passed away and I could not go to the funeral. Then I went to United States and my mother became widow. So she sent that handwritten biography with our neighbor to United States. And when I saw it, I was quite shocked that she never told me in the entire life of 35 years that physically that existed. But anyway, I got that biography. Now, when I read that biography, when I looked at the script, I thought it is the Modi script, which is the original old Marathi, which I cannot understand. So I kept it away. So I kept it in my shrine and I was doing puja of that. So from age 35 till age 60, for 25 years, I was only doing puja of that biography. Then what happened is one day I was traveling from Mysore to Pune. It was a long drive, So I thought that maybe I should look at that biography. It was very small handwritten one. So when I looked at it, I saw that it is not in the Modi. It is in normal Marathi language. Only the handwriting looks like Modi. And then it was describing the cities. And all the cities are on that Mysore to Pune route. All the cities are on that route. And it mentioned who was his guru in the last life. That is in Murgod in Karnataka. And how he walked from his house to that guru. That place where he was born in this life is the same place he was born in the last life. And he has told how he walked there to. That time there was no conveyance. I'm sure there was no. We're talking about 17 something. Anyway, now I read that and I was quite surprised. Now another thing is that when I was traveling between Mysore and Pune for 4 years almost, because I was getting connected with Karnataka and I started liking Kannada. So there was a patch of the road like between the Kolhapur and that place where my father's guru was. In that area, when I passed that area, I was feeling extremely energetic every time. So I was thinking that how come I become energetic only in that place? So that was thought in my mind, but I ignored it. But when I read that biography, I came to know that that is exactly the route where this guru was. So I decided to go there. Then what happened is after that, I went to Europe. That also my father had told me. But when I came from Europe, one Italian girl came with me and she wanted to travel. So she came to Bangalore, Pune, etc. And on the way, I told her that should we try to go to that place? She said, yes, we have to go to that place. So it took like 2-3 hours for us to find that my father's guru's place. As soon as I went there, I'm telling you, as soon as I went there, I immediately got connected and I can clearly see that that place is so vibrating, And his guru in the past life, his name was Anyway, we'll talk about it. But anyway, it is in Murgod and he had 2 wives, his guru. And interestingly, the Akkalkot Swami, who is supposed to be one of the topmost saint, he's a incarnation of Akkalkot Swami had come there. Chidambar Swami, his name is Chidambar Swami, and Akkalkot served the people food in that time. That means the Akkalkot had come to Chidambar Swami and served the food. So what I wanted to tell you is that biography is with me, na. And then there are some other things I can tell you, many other things like that I can tell you. That proves that definitely the life was there, and exactly those same cities are mentioned there in the old Marathi language. And then there are some other things also I can tell you where they prove that the past life definitely exists. But the thing is that what I want you to understand is my opinion is like this, that fine, you come to the past life or whatever it is, but now what are you going to do? That is important, more important. Like I came to Malaysia, the weather is very good or something. Now what I'm going to do with that weather? Am I going to go for eating ice cream, or I'm going to go to some hill, or am I going to do this seminar, or whatever I'm going to do. That is most important, no? Because that's not where the train is ending. You have to go somewhere else. So the past life, I'm convinced. That's why I'm telling you this.
Thank you for clarifying. We have about 10 solid minutes at least. Anyone else have a question? You can please unmute and ask, or you can continue this line of thought and you can kind of tell us more about your experiences. Does anyone else have a question? I see Dr. Eltz. I want to just kind of give a shout out. Thank you for joining. Dr. Kulkarni, while people kind of figure out their other question, I want to ask again, I kind of bring it. Go ahead.
I have a quick question, Anjali ji.
Please.
So I wanted to know from Neel ji, what is the process of, if we want to learn from him all the details, especially in detail, the questions that have been asked here today, and systematically, I want to get clarity on the authenticity of this Yoga Darshan and Yoga Shastra to be able to spread the meaning of this Yoga Darshan in a meaningful way. So what is the method of doing that? Part one. And part two of my question is, what are the modules that he teaches, that you teach, Neelji? And can you give us an outline? Because we are all eager to learn and set the record straight. So how can we be ambassadors of yoga? Thank you.
So let me tell you this, that first thing is that I must thank United States, because my yoga study was completed in United States, not because they taught me yoga. I was taught yoga in India. So definitely yoga is Indian, but the United States environment allowed me to practice it, which I could not do in India, because India, the travel time of my office, etc., was so much. So I lived very close to the my office, and I got all the library system, all the books I wanted, etc., and even the nutrition books, etc., everything I got in United States. And I also got very, very good students, psychologists, etc., these kind of people. So I'm glad that they asked me to write my system, because many teachers in the past, they did not write their system, and sometimes during oral transmission some parts may be lost. So that may be one reason why the Patanjali system is somewhat clumsy. So in my system is completely written in Adhiyoga system, and it's written in a very clear language. The only thing is the person should be extremely interested and spend time to read all those sutras, 18 chapters, and if they get any questions, I'm ready to answer them. That is about my system. Now about the Patanjali system, I will tell you. See, Patanjali system is written in very, very difficult Sanskrit language, and you should not read any translation who does not know Sanskrit very deeply. He should not know Sanskrit in the university or high school level. They have to know the Sanskrit of the Upanishad, that means the Vedic system. For example, Prakash. Prakash in Sanskrit means light. But in Patanjali, Prakash doesn't mean light. It means Sattva Guna. So and Patanjali, I think that he was very naughty. He was a grammarian, so he has made it very complex. He makes sutras like the longest sutra in Patanjali is Vyadhisthana Samshaya Pramada Lasya Virati Bhranti Darshana Labdha Bhumikatva Navastitatvani. This is one word. Chitta Vikshepastentarayaha. Now, it will be very difficult for a person to know what each of these words mean, exactly what he means. So in the Patanjali problem is that either you should be a Sanskrit student, or you should only consult or read a extremely knowledgeable Sanskrit person. Now the best commentary on Patanjali is the Vyasa's commentary, and my teacher has asked me to write a book on that, and that book is around 3,000 pages. So I told him, sir, please, I think that I'll be dead by then. So better I write something else. So he has allowed me to write a Marathi translation of that same book. But the way he wants me to write that book is around 3,000 to 5,000 pages. So it will take me long. I have already finished 20 pages, but it's going to take 10, 15 years. Forget it. So what I want to tell you is that you have to read a correct commentary, then contemplate on it. Now, let us say that you got Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Now you want to understand it really deeply. So what you should do is the first step, there are two steps. In my system, you should memorize it totally. That is my method. But if you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can just know each word completely. Then you teach that word meaning to different people and memorize all the meanings of all the words and the sentences in that. Once you memorize them, the word meanings or the sentence meanings, then you should start chanting that. Once you chant that, the entire Patanjali should be memorized. And then you should chant it many times. For example, I have chanted at least 16,000 times. And with the meaning in the mind. That means you should know exactly what is the meaning of each statement, and that should come to you while chanting. When you do this practice, you will come to know a different way of understanding. For example, when I did that, this is the Patanjali code book. So when I did this thousands of chanting, I came to know that Patanjali is defining one thing here, then he's not defining this thing at all. And this thing is related to this thing. He's telling the Samadhi in the first chapter, Samadhi Yoga. And then Samadhi is defined in 3.3 in the third chapter. So there is no proper relationship. And then he's defining Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is not required according to me at all, because Kriya Yoga is already included in Niyamas. Ishwar Pranidhan, that is devotion to Ishwar, is completely wrong in Patanjali according to me. So I wrote a totally different Ishwar Pranidhan chapter. And I have written in my book exactly why he is not correct. But what I want to tell you is that you should chant it and the meaning should come in your mind. And this process should become like, you know, how the classical musicians sing ragas. And then it should settle in your mind. And then you don't have to carry it anywhere, the text. Wherever you go in aeroplane, everything you can contemplate. And then the meaning will be clear to you. This takes time. And in Patanjali also it says, you know, Tivra Samveganam Asannaha. And in the Abhyas also he says that Satu Dirgha Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito, means you have to do it for a long time with very sincere. So what I want to tell you is that most of the yoga students, most of them in the world, first thing is they are not interested in yoga at all. They are only interested in something which will help their current life, like they have a back pain or something like that. And that is the reason why all the people are doing yoga exercise. So they actually want to get rid of the back pain or something like that. And now they tried some other things, you know, they tried medicine or they tried Ayurveda, etc. They did not work. Then they say, okay, now I will try yoga also. Like that, they are coming to yoga. And some teachers, they are giving them totally false knowledge that if you do like this, this problem will be solved. Actually, problem is not solved. I have seen this in 99% that their problem is not solved, but they still believe. If you go to any yoga studio, it says there's flexibility, then stress relief, and you just stand outside the studio and watch for a month. You will find that they are not having stress relieved. They are quite stressed. They will tell you, I'm busy, Neel, I have to go quickly. I don't have time to talk to you. So that means that they are not stress relief and their pain is not gone. One lady told me that she's going to this class for last 11 years because of back pain, and she recommends it to everyone. That means the back pain is not gone in 11 years. Because I will tell you that the body is formed by food and not by yoga exercise. So if your food is not correct, you can never get the health. So in my system, before you start yoga exercise, you have to correct your food.
Correct.
My class starts with the food only first.
Thank you. I know this is the nutrition aspect that I wanted to bring up early on. And Shobhaji, I've linked his website. He's very good with email. He'll, share his WhatsApp number later on if he wishes to. So it is all comprehensive. It's an excellent site. Last question, Dr. Kulkarni, and this is Aditya. Aditya, please do the last.
Yes. So
Yes.
Thank you. See, when we talk of focusing on breathing,
difficult questions.
So when we talk of focusing on breathing, you have the
Yeah.
process of breathing in, then you hold your breath, then you breathe out, and you have a phase before your next breathing cycle resumes. Now,
Yes.
I think Buddhism focuses on that period between two breaths. I don't know whether it's between inspiration and expiration or between expiration and inspiration, but there are lots of people I've met who focus on the process of breathing in and breathing out, or on the
Yes.
entirety of it. So focusing on one part of breathing versus focusing on the entirety of breathing, or focusing on another different part of breathing, is that relevant? Is that mentioned anywhere and in your work? I would like to know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kumbhakarna.
My book has a chapter on pranayam, and all the terms in my yoga system, they are totally defined in the modern language. So let me tell you exactly what happens, whether it is classical system or modern system. See, first thing is that you want to focus your mind for doing the meditation, and in the real meditation, that focus should become continuous. So I will tell you the Patanjali's 4 sutras. The first sutra says, Desha bandhas chittasya dharana. That means your chitta has to be focused in a limited space or one object. That is called dharana. That means only focusing the mind, not focus mind. So Desha bandhas chittasya dharana, 3.1. Then it says, Tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. Means that when that becomes continuous, that focus is becoming continuous, then it is called meditation. That means all the people who are doing meditation, they are not doing meditation. They are only trying to focus the mind. They are doing dharana. Now, when that focus becomes so continuous that you forget yourself, tadevartha matra nirvasam swarupa shunyamiva samadhi. That means you will reach a total concentration. Samadhi means total concentration. Samadhi doesn't mean super conscious state of the mind. It means samadhi is defined as complete concentration of the mind. So that is the first time you get a samadhi. These entire 3 things together is called Sanyam. Trayam ekatra Sanyamaha. Now, once you get that samadhi state, you are not done. You only got that first level samadhi. Then you go through 7 stages of samadhi until the last stage is called Nirbija Samadhi. That is given in 1.51. So you can see that samadhi is defined in 3.43, and then he says that Tasyapi Nirode Sarva Nirodha Nirbija Samadhi, 1.51. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this is the samadhi practice, that we should focus the mind. Now, obviously, focusing the mind requires an object. There is a total mistake in Buddhism, that some people think that they are focusing without an object. It is impossible to focus without object. Focusing means object. So one Buddhist saint, he focused on a white wall. There was a wall which was white, and he's focusing there, and he got samadhi state. So he said that I'm focusing on white wall, there is no object. I said, no, there is a white wall. Why not blue? So you chose the white, you purposefully painted it white, so it created the object. Even the idea that there is no object, or there is a vacuum, or vipassana, that means your thoughtless stage. So what you do is, in your mind, you create one object, how that thoughtless stage will look like. You formulate that formula in your mind, and then go on focusing on that formula. So there is always an object. Without object, you cannot focus. If you already went without the object, you already got the samadhi state. You don't have to focus anymore. Now what I'm saying is, when you focus the object, what the yogis did was, see, the yogis were very, very intelligent, I think. What they did is that if you have to go to Malaysia, you have to buy a ticket. So they said, forget all this ticket, everything. I want to focus on my body itself, because the body I got free. So they started focusing on different things. In that process, they came to know chakras, they came to know nadis, etc. That is how they got that knowledge. They did not get that knowledge by cutting the body at all. Therefore, I'm just telling you honestly that all the yoga anatomy classes, they are totally useless. Because in the certification course, they say you have to do a yoga anatomy course. That yoga anatomy teaches you how many bones are there and this and that. That is taught in the medical course. You are not going to operate that body. And even if you know that yoga anatomy, even if you know it, those same anatomy teacher are coming to me to ask what should they do if they get a pain in this leg. I said, you already know the anatomy more than me, because their anatomical study is not with the mind. It is with the external observation. But the yogis observe the live body, which is live, using the mind. So they know what is the body doing when it is live. Now, anyway, you have to focus your mind. So they decided to use their body. Now you will obviously know that if something is very, very solid like this phone, it is very easy to focus on that. If it becomes liquid, it will be more difficult. If this becomes gas, it will be more difficult. So if you watch the human body, the entire human body, all the parts, the most subtle part of the human body is the air. Air is the part of the human body which is there inside the body, and that is the most subtle. If you are able to focus on the air, you don't have to focus on any chakra or any bones or anything like that. You just focus on the air only. That will be the most difficult focus. So what they did was they started focusing on the breath, because that's where the breath air is coming and going. Now, how you focus is not important at all. You can take one breath or 100 breath or stop the breath or whatever it is. It doesn't matter at all. You have to focus your mind on the breath, and your focus should become so focused that you forget yourself. Now, what they did was they came to know that the breath is the connection between the body and the mind. You will find it. See, if your breathing is changed, immediately your mental state changes. If I forcibly make you run fast and your breathing changes, then you cannot think easily. As soon as you settle down, you can think better. Now, if your breath becomes very, very slow, you'll go to sleep. So body is connected with the breath and the mind is connected with the breath. So what they did was, at the same time, they used the breath in Hatha Yoga for Kundalini. And in the Raja Yoga, they use the breath for meditation. And these formulas, 1, 4, these and all, those are for, that time they came up with this because they wanted to see how difficult it can be made. You do not have to have those formulas at all. But anyway, when your breath stops, really stops, not that it is somebody has squeezed your chest. So when your breath stops, there are only two possibilities. Either you are dead and you are not breathing, or if your breath stops and you are alive, then your mind is totally still. So the concept of Kumbhak is, you first focus on that breath, then you make it longer and longer and controlled, and you should be able to stop that breath. As soon as you stop the breath, the mind will become completely still and you will be totally focused. Now I will tell you the 5 sutras in Patanjali to mean this, so you can quickly understand it. See, in Patanjali, first he says you have to make a stable and steady pose, comfortable pose. Once you get that, you have to do the manipulation of the breath. So he says, Tasmin sati shwasa prashwasayor gati vicheda pranayamaha. That means he's defining what the pranayam means, that you have to manipulate the breath and try to stop it. Gati viched. Tasmin sati means after obtaining the steady pose, tasmin sati shwasa prashwasa means inhalation, exhalation, gati vicheda pranayama. Then he says, Satubhayyabhyantara stamba vrittir desha kala sankhyaabhi paridrishto dirgha sukshmaha. That means it should be long and very soft. Very soft and long. It should not be very fast. So Kapalabhati, Bhastrika, etc., they are not pranayam. Shitali is not pranayam. They are only Shuddhi Kriyas. Now, once you get that, what he is saying is, Satubhayyabhyantara stamba vrittir desha kala sankhyaabhi paridrishto dirgha sukshmaha. Then he says that when you practice this really sincerely, lot, not in the garden like that. Bahyabhyantara vishayakshepi chaturtaha. That means there is third pranayam. Inhalation, exhalation, manipulation, and stopping. Then he says there is a fourth one. That fourth one is automatic. That means you are not trying to do anything. Automatically your breath is stopping. That means you are sitting like this and you just think that my breath should stop. Immediately it stops at your will. So if that happens, that means that is called Sahaja Kumbhak or Kevala Kumbhak, without doing any practice. And that same thing happens when the Bhakti Margis, they do bhajan. See, when they do the bhajan, they immediately stop their breath at one time. If you look at Ramakrishna Paramahansa, like his photos like that, his breath is completely stopped. As soon as he thinks of Kali Mata, breath is stopped totally. So, Satu Bahyabhyantara Vishaya Kshepi Chaturtaha. That is the third sutra. Fourth one is Tatakshiyate Prakasha Varanam. So, Prakasha Varanam means that Sattva Gun, Rajas and Tamas. So, Rajas and Tamas, this is is covering the Prakash. That Avaran becomes less. And only the Sattva Gun remains. That means Chitta becomes only Satvik. And the pure Chitta means Satvik. That is the Chitta Shuddhi in the Advaita Vedanta. So, Chitta Shuddhi will occur by doing the pranayam also. And actually in Advaita Vedanta, if you want to do yoga, you should do pranayam, not asanas at all. So anyway, what I want to tell you is that the fourth sutra says, Tatakshiyate Prakasha Varanam, and the last sutra says, Dharana Sucha Yogyata Manasaha. That means this whole practice, why you are doing, so that you can focus your mind. Dharana Sucha Yogyata Manasaha. Your mind will become qualified to do the meditation. That's all it says. You don't have to do after that. If your mind is totally focused, don't do any asana and pranayam. If you have to do it for maintaining weight, do it. But you don't have to do it.
Thank you. And I just want to echo that too with the kind of doing research for my book, looking at the different yoga Upanishads. It just depends on the practice, whether you do the Rechaka or the Kumbhaka. It just depends on the practice. So thank you for this. I want to, again, thank you everyone for joining. We want to close this out. I want to also mention that I've linked Dr. Kulkarni's website, so please get in touch with him, right? We know people from Houston also who are taking classes with him, who have received their yoga teacher certifications with him. So thank you for your time today, and hopefully we can just continue having these conversations in the future as well. With that, I will end this.
Yes. My father's biography is available free on my site.
Okay.
And also probably my book is in some languages is freely available. And I could not find any Hindi translator for 8 years. So I started translating Hindi, and the first 5 chapters I have completed. They are available free on my site in Hindi. Marathi is also freely available. So if you don't want to spend money, you can read free on the site.
And I think that's a great start. People can try to see what this is about and then explore further.
And then my Adhiyoga site has all the teachers' testimonials whom I taught. Almost all of them are there. So you can see what all of them are writing. So what their requirement is and what they are getting, etc. But anyway, I wish you all the best. And I think that the minimum thing I want to tell you as a part of this, without giving too much knowledge, is that whatever you do, whether it is yoga exercise, losing weight, or whatever you want to do, and my father told me that, and it took me too long to understand. So I don't want you to get that much time. I want you to understand faster than me, that whatever you want to do, it will happen only if your mind is peaceful. Your mind must be peaceful. If your mind is not peaceful, whatever you are doing is not good at all. It is okay. You can get there, etc., but it will not work. Your mind has to be peaceful, and peaceful starts with happiness. That means that if you want to eat ice cream. But after that, your mind should be peaceful. You should feel at peace. If you are feeling disturbed, no study will work. You have to do peaceful mind. That is one thing I want to tell you. And second is that try to do what is possible only. Don't try to do too much. First, try to understand what is said there. Think about it, and your what is it called? There is some your intelligence or whatever it is should feel that yes, what is said that makes sense. Don't do it because your friend is doing or some teacher is telling you. And if you want to learn the text, definitely you have to go to a Sanskrit scholar. You can't go to any other person.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kulkarni. With this, I hope everyone has a great weekend and a great break ahead for those in the US. So thank you. We'll be in touch.
Thanks for the
Yes, sir.